Welcome back to the Forward Moves podcast, a place where we talk about all things business branding and systems for your fitness business. I'm Ash.
And I'm your co-host, Kira.
And welcome to today's episode. Today we've got a very special guest on our episode.
Yes, I'm so excited that she's here. So we have someone of ours that has been a client and a coach and a friend, and I think is killing it in the fitness world. Bec Johnson, welcome.
Thanks, guys. I need to take my big head home.
Big heads only in here, thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
The ego is big enough.
Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Oh, I'm just glad you're in Brisbane now.
I know.
Yay.
I know. I've been here for about 5 weeks now.
Yeah, I think so.
We just moved into the office this week too.
I know, I saw that.
I know, so
Bec's
fun.
like, I watch everything.
I'm so invested. Put it on the podcast. I'll listen.
I think we spoke about it so much on the podcast. People were like, we get it.
I
You're
know.
moving to Brisbane.
And it's so funny because like people that we don't think know about, we're like, oh yeah, we're in the office this week. And they're like, yeah, we know. And then we're like, oh, how? And we're like, oh, we literally talk about everything.
We share our life online and don't think anyone watches.
We live
But
out
it's like
loud.
when you catch up with someone, you're just like, hey, how you going? They're like, don't worry, I watch your stories and I'm up to date with your life.
I know exactly what you're doing. You're like, okay, all right, we'll see ya.
See you online. Bye.
So we are actually working with Bec currently.
Yes, you are.
Again. A big rebrand.
I know.
Doing the Business Moves program.
I know. I'm so excited. It's so good.
How far in are we?
Halfway?
Halfway, yeah. I think we're like 41 tasks in.
Wow. Out of like, what, 100?
I love that you know the number. Oh, that's so funny. I think we're about 41 exactly.
It's up to Kira's step. We're waiting on her.
Probably.
It's such a Bec thing to do. Yeah. I tried watching one of the videos before I came here. It's the Loom about like your client tracker. And
Yeah.
I was like in a cafe and I'm like, I can't hear shit.
Yeah, that would be really hard to understand.
Are you liking the portal?
It's so good. So good. I was literally showing Jess before. I was like, it is like step by step. So it's not overwhelming. It's like, you got this one thing to do? Okay.
Just focus on this one thing right now.
Because if you go in like a whole big like chunk, you'd be like, oh, nah. But it's just like, read this. Okay, done. Get this through to, Ash, to Star, to like somebody. And you're like, oh, I can do that. I can do that.
Yeah, one little step at a time, and then boom.
It's
Yeah.
probably one of the proudest things that I've done with the
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
moving onto that portal. Like,
So
it completely
helpful.
changed our experience. My ear just went out.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, wait, I'm back. No, I'm not. I might need to swap because I'm deaf in the other ear.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Just a payment, please.
All right, we're back.
Technical difficulties.
But yeah, I'm very interested in your story because I actually don't know your story too well. I know that you and Kira have a big pre-existing relationship.
We do.
Yeah, it's a big, beautiful one.
Yeah. When did you guys first meet?
At
World
World
Gym.
Gym Burpengary,
Yeah.
I was working there, and Bec was a coach, a PT there.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. How long ago?
It would have been 2018 I started working there. So 2019.
yeah, I think that's when I
Yeah.
started working there. Yeah, I worked there for 2 years, and I think I finished up in 21. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How long were you guys coaching together?
Oh, like a few years.
2.5 years, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, it was like
coaching.
almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And you did 2 comps with Bec.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Right.
Yeah.
So Kira was Bec's client.
Yes.
Yes.
And now the roles have changed.
Now I'm in charge.
Yeah. Even when we started.
finally.
Yeah. Payback time. No, I'm just kidding. But it's like, yeah, me being like, where are you? Get this done.
I actually really laugh at the chat because it's like really professional and it's like just not professional for like 2 messages.
I tried so hard. Like at the start, I was like, hey, Bec, blah, 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 like all this stuff. And I'm like, oi, big dog, get this done.
Me the other day, I've got big dog energy. I'm like, I hope everyone in this chat realizes.
I even had one of the other girls message me on like our work chat being like, lol, you and Bec make me laugh.
I was like, professional. No,
It
it's
just
just coming
went-
out.
just
It's just
went
coming out.
Because I go through all the chats on Fridays and some of the stuff that you come up with just makes me laugh. I'm like, what planet is this girl on?
Or when we were working out your email name. It was so funny.
Big dog at the Bec Project.
Yeah. And then I was like, you can sign off with just like woof. Oh man, that was a rogue day. We were clearly feeling rogue that day.
That was definitely a Friday.
Yeah, that was all in the portal.
I've just skipped it.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, our relationship goes back quite far.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been
So
really
cute.
fun, like seeing you even go through all of this process and change. So to bring it back to the start for everybody, and because Ash doesn't really know
Yeah.
either, how
can't
did you? What?
I can't even remember when we met.
Oh, I can't remember the first. I think we met at a comp. I think it
Oh
was
my
like,
god!
Yeah, we met at your competition. I met Rach at Kira's competition.
I think
too.
it was even a W like BFF like back in the day. Like we crossed paths and we were like, oh my god, and then that was it. But we properly met. I think it was at Kira's.
Did we speak prior to that? Did you get spreadsheets off us before?
Yeah, I was like an OG.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the
Oh
whole.
my god, you and
spreadsheet.
Rach have quite similar stories of like how you started working with
Yeah.
us too. Because
So
you're
cute.
how I found out about Ash.
Yeah, so I actually technically got Kira the job.
Yeah, because I
Wow.
said, oh, I'm looking at like VA work, and blah, blah, and Bec was like, oh, I actually just went through a VA who's like for fitness coaches.
And you were just advertising for it. And I was like, Kira, you need to apply.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
our origin story is like all connected.
I was like, Kira, don't let me down.
What a small world.
Crazy, hey.
Yeah,
But
so good.
so for your story, getting into the PT coaching world, let's take everybody through like how you got into it and what made you want to get into it, and then how you sort of like progressed through your business. Give us a little storyline.
So I started doing my Cert 3 and 4 years ago. I was working at a bank and I was like, this is not it for me. And I was competing, always had like such a love for health and fitness. I was quite like the clean eater. Like I was clean. I would like, do this, do that. Don't put this in your body, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, there's got to be more to it. I want to be like a PT. I saw a lot of people being like online coaches, doing like group fitness. Got my Cert 3 and then I started actually working at F45. So I would literally do like the morning classes, go to the gym, do my own session and then go to work. And then I would like,
Wow.
That's big days.
yeah, so I'd start at 5, finish at like 5:30 and I was like, whoa, I'm wrecked. And then I ended up completely like quitting both jobs and going overseas for like 3 months. And then I came back and I was like, okay, like I need to actually get my shit together. I'd finished my Cert 4 at this point. So I'd started like online coaching and working in the gym. So I'd already taken on some online clients and I don't recommend that. Like
I was going to say that's interesting. So you just like started doing both at the very beginning.
yeah, so I only
wow.
had like a very like I'm pretty sure it was like 3 or 4 clients online. And so I was doing that and then I was building the business in the back end, doing a PT, working at Worlds, and then we got COVID. So that kind of like pushed things back and forward a little bit. But then I worked at Worlds for like 3 years. And then at this time I was also building the online presence and that was actually quite taking off. So I was like, oh, can I go part-time at the gym? So I was doing like part-time hours. It was like Monday afternoons, Tuesday mornings, Thursday all day. And then I was doing weekends, but weekend clients, man, they would just like not show up, like ignore your messages. And you're like, I get it. But also like, I want my Saturday morning off too. If you're not showing up, I'm just like walking around the gym.
Yeah.
So then I dropped that a day and then, yeah, I just kept building the online presence. And then we ended up deciding literally one day, we're like, oh, where are we going? Like, where are we moving to? Because we were in Brisbane at the time, well, North Brisbane. And Tim and I were like, let's play like location roulette. And it was like either Sunny Coast or Gold Coast. We applied for like 2 places at the Gold Coast, got the second one, the only place I'd actually inspected. So I was like, am I going to PT down at the Gold Coast? And I was like, no, we'll just take it fully online. So then, yeah, the last 2 and a bit years, all online.
Wow. So what's this story span? How many years?
Probably like 5-6 years. So it was before, yeah, it would have been like 6 years because it was before I met Tim that I started working at F45.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy story, especially taking on online clients straight up.
Yeah.
Just jump in the hot water.
Which you said you don't recommend. Why would you say you don't recommend that?
I think you need to have hands-on experience with a client first, knowing how to instruct them with form, like knowing cues, like, yeah, you learn how to like cue a client, but like I also am like, think about like, with an RDL, I'm like, think about that there's a button behind you on a wall and you need to hit that with your hips, like keep them straight. Like that's not a cue in your lesson kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you just kind of know how to talk to people a lot better. Even though I was training at F45 and doing like the group fitness sort of thing, and I had like experience here and there doing like a few like, I guess, like sessions and stuff, and I'd had PTs behind me the whole time. I truly believe that if you're getting into the industry and you think that you can just go and be an online coach, that like there's so much more experience that you can better yourself and your business with going and being on that gym floor.
Yeah. It's the real life situations where you have to make quick decisions that really benefit you as a business owner as well.
And just having empathy for your clients as well. Like, you'll have a client that'll be like, hey, look, I really can't make it to the gym this week. Like, my 2 kids are sick. You know, this has happened with, you know, Jeffrey, her partner, or something like that. And you're like, yeah, you literally cannot make it. But when you actually have to be at that session with that client as well, you actually see, oh, like she literally physically cannot get to the gym.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of online clients, and like this is no discredit to them, like if you go straight into being an online client and you're just like, well, my schedule's like really easy breezy, and then like, why are you not getting to the gym? If I can do it, you can do it. And you're like, well, like you can't always.
That's a really good point, I think, because you get in the habit of realizing that the people that you're coaching are real people.
Yep.
And if you're only an online coach, then the people are just behind a screen. Like, it's not like that's a real person with real problems. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and we definitely hear, I only want to take on customers that are driven, or, you know, and of course, like when you have clients that do the work, oh my God, it's amazing. It's like sitting on an island with a cocktail, kind of breeze in your hair. Like, it's just such a good feeling. But you're a coach for a reason, and you have to train them through them problems, and not everyone's life's going to be great, and like you're going to go through things. And I think, it's you can live and breathe it because that's your job, but your customer can't. They've got to fit it into their life with their job.
Yep. Especially like when there's like people who don't have kids, people who don't have like that 2 jobs, or like that full-time physical, I have to be somewhere job. It's so different when you work from home or you work for yourself. Like, you can go and do whatever you need to do at whatever time.
Yeah.
Like me right now, it's a Wednesday and I'm really but like the thing is, like I've worked to this point. Like I've done those 5 a.m. sessions. I've done 4 a.m. sessions, and I was like,
That's rough.
From a technical standpoint, have there been any situations that have stood out to you of, I wouldn't be able to give advice over this if I didn't work on the floor?
There has been a lot of situations where I'm just like different, like, I guess, techniques or things, just, I guess, knowing like someone's limitations within the gym as well. When you get a beginner come in and you're just like, well, I wouldn't be programming, you know, barbell, you know, low bar squats to them when I don't even know like their range of motion, or if they've got something wrong with them, you know, how to start tweaking things, or even like putting plates underneath the client's feet because, you know, this is wrong, or swapping out different leg presses and stuff. Like, you actually start to remember how a machine works. Like, you can go and train yourself, but when you've got clients with different situations going on or injuries and stuff, you start to like remember how to, like, oh, you know what, if the gym's busy, you can use that leg extension for split squats. You can then like superset them.
That's
that's good. That's really good. Do you miss being on the floor?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Why do you miss it?
I miss the human interaction.
Yeah, very
like
common theme.
It's just like that human interaction, being able to talk to them and stuff. And like, you think about it, you're another person for that person. And like, a lot of clients just open up to you. They have a good chin wag. They talk about their weekends, and just physically being able to help somebody, and then like messaging after being like, oh my God, I can't sit on a toilet, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's so good. Like, you get that with your clients now when you're online, being like, oh my God, that workout like really killed. But when you know that you were in that session with them doing it, it's so good. And like, I feel like people who jump straight online, you're missing such a fun part of your job. Yeah, it's tough. Like, it's any other job, it's tough. You'll do a lot of free sessions. You'll walk the floor a lot. Yeah, you've got to pay rent and stuff. But if you can build that business up, it will benefit you so much in the long run. And you will just have like a better connection with your clients as well.
Yeah, I love that. I think
I
that's
feel
really
like they're
important.
missing a big business opportunity too, because, you know, them relationships you build are referrals.
Yep,
for your online
100%.
coaching program.
Yeah, and like physical people that know you like so much more, like in depth, I guess, because they saw you every week. They got to be with you in person,
and they see your energy too, which is good.
And I guess talking about like connections and things, I know that you did a bit of mindset work and counseling work prior to being a coach as well. So do you think doing that sort of course prior to becoming a coach has been beneficial?
Yeah, so I actually forgot that was like one of the key points that like got me into actually coaching is I did counseling and I was like, wow, there's so much connected to moving the body and how we eat that is actually linked to our mindset. Like it is true, the whole like you are what you eat, but it's also like what you read, who you're hanging out with, like the environment that you're in, and it all literally goes hand in hand. Like a lot of my clients, I guess you've got to motivate them to find the motivation within themselves. And that's where like the counseling part comes in as well. And like, I think it makes you more open to them as well. Like, I'm like, nothing's off bounds. Like if you're having a shit relationship or, you know, you hate your job or this is going on or even like your digestion, I'm like, nothing is off limits with me. Like give it to me. Like I would rather know than not know.
Yeah.
Where would you draw the line with mindset? For obviously it's such a huge part in coaching and your mindset is everything, but where would you draw the line between you can't teach that versus we can talk about that?
A lot of it will come down to, I guess, when it's starting to actually go into like a therapy session and they're like actually seeking that advice from you. I've actually had to say to a few clients before, I'm like, you actually need to go see someone professional who's registered right now rather than talking to me about it, because I honestly just don't have the tools and the skills to be helping you with that. A lot of it comes down to like a lot of like eating disorders and body image as well. I can help to a certain level, but then I can see that there's something a lot deeper behind all of that, and I'm like, no, we need to go see a professional in this. And I guess that's me knowing where my boundaries are too. I'm like, outsource to that. Like I'm never going to be a physio. Like if I know a client's got like something going wrong, I'm like, can you please go see a physio and get them to talk to me, because I can't physically help what you need. And then it's very selfish of me to be like, oh no, I can do this. Like,
yeah, I was going to say that's really important to be able to make sure you're working within your scope and knowing your limits.
Yeah. So yeah, like I'll go through certain things being like, okay, have we tried meditating? Have we tried breath work? What are you doing in your everyday life that we can do on this? Like, can we talk about this? Can we reframe that? But when it starts going to that point where I'm like, no, like there needs to be something else that's involved there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's a weird line, hey. It's like where does it sit? Where does it cross?
Yeah.
Because it really is it's the way that you feel, and I mean, we're a fitness business. We know that fitness is the core of everything in life. It makes everything work properly. So I find it really interesting to talk to people about that, because people just online, you got to be very careful to not open Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Because you're liable for whatever happens after that.
And that's the thing as well. Oh, well, you know, Bec told me to go do this. And I'm like, ooh, well, there's a line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even when you're saying things to clients, it's like, oh, like I would suggest from like, you know, blah, 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 trying to incorporate this. Even with like supplements, like when like you see like someone giving out, saying something like go get a B12, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, you could, but like you got to be really careful with what you say. Like you should go get it. Like it's like me telling them to go do it, and if they got sick from it, it's like, you know, it could be a recommendation to go to your doctor to see if this is lacking.
Yeah.
Get that professional help first.
Yeah. For
You're
sure.
a nutritionist as well, aren't you? Yeah.
So I got that little qualification behind me.
Yeah, I think it's non-negotiable in the online space.
Yeah, especially when you're doing more than just like general advice. And that's another thing you see as well, is people just like jumping straight into it and like, here's a meal plan that I eat.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, actually. I'm losing my train of thought there. I'm like, I think it's really important to be qualified all around.
Yeah.
Especially because you're playing with people's health.
Yeah. And like
at the end of the day.
Yeah. And like our health is our biggest wealth.
Yeah.
And
health is wealth.
Yeah. And you don't want to be like stuffing that up for somebody, because they're coming to you to get better. And yeah, as much as you be like, yeah, I can do that, it's also like, what are you causing from trying to take on too much as well? And then like, this is coming from like a business standpoint. It's also like, how much are you wasting spending that much time helping somebody else on a case when you could just like put them into a professional and get it done 10 times quicker?
True.
Yeah. And I always talk about the long-term effect of it as well, when, you know, we're really big on admitting when we don't know something.
Yeah.
Because although in the short term your customer might be like, oh, well, that's annoying, in the long term they're going to be like, I'm so glad Bec referred me to that professional, because if you didn't, in the long term they'll be like, I resent her so much because she didn't refer me. And
spent
it's
6 months doing this.
And it's that long-term effect of think about your name and reputation in the future.
And it's also boundaries, because you don't want to start resenting your job because like everyone is coming to you with like these like issues and problems and things like that. Like, yeah, they can be within your scope and you can help with those issues and problems because that's what people come to you for in coaching. But when people are coming to you because like a boy is seeing another girl and like, you know, she's dealing with childhood trauma and you're not qualified for that, you're just like, one, like they're not paying you for that. And you could get paid so much more if you were. like psychs are like $200 an hour. Like you were cutting yourself short on that. And it's also boundaries. Like I've got some pretty strong boundaries in the business. Like I won't reply on weekends. Sometimes I'll check and like, you know, quick reply kind of thing. But clients know, like no replies on weekends. Like that's for me, because if you're not looking after yourself in that aspect, like how are you giving back to them like Monday through to Friday?
Yeah, absolutely. Did you set boundaries early on, or is it something that you learned as a lesson?
I was going to say, I can tell you now she definitely used to reply on weekends.
No, I was shocking.
And I was going to say, it's even funny because like me as a client, I'd be like, the start of the message is like, do not reply. I'm sending this so I don't forget. And then if she replied, I'd be like, you're not meant to reply to me. And I was like, set your boundaries.
Literally, I would be like, oh, I'm just doing nothing today, so don't even worry about it, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, you know, I'd reply to Kira, then I'd reply to 3 other clients, and then those messages would come back, and it's just like, no, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, just like.
But at the start, it was shocking. And like, even with check-ins, like clients would be like, oh my God, don't even worry about it. Like, I'll get it done. And then like I was doing like check-ins at like 9:30 on a Wednesday night when they're supposed to be in on a Monday, and I'm like, I had a client once, she sent me 43 messages. I'm not even shitting you. 43 messages. It gets better. On New Year's Eve after 4 p.m. So like even after hours, and it was consistent. Like we were on the way to the Gold Coast and it was like boom, 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 boom. And I was like, oh my God, there must be something wrong. No, there was nothing wrong. It was just like, hey, what do you think of this pre-workout? Oh, is this one okay? And then like it was like about protein and stuff. I got an email at 11 o'clock the next morning on New Year's Day being like, have I done something wrong? Like, why are you not replying to me? And I'm like, babe, I'd already signed off. Like, it's New Year's Eve. Like, you girls know that I wasn't. And I'm pretty sure that it was like the New Year's Day was on a Saturday as well. So it was like Friday afternoon. And then like the Saturday, I was like, babe, you got to like, honestly, boundaries.
You dig your own grave, hey? Because I don't know about you, but do you get very anxious on a weekend when you can't work? Like, on the weekends, I'm like, oh, everything's going to melt down, everything's going to burn down, because I can't be stimulated with work and no one's responding, and you know, it's very, very hard for me to switch off. But then like you dip your toe in and then you're like, oh, why did I
Sometimes
do that?
I'll do programs and stuff on like a Saturday midday, because we'll like go out, do something, and then we'll come home, because like Tim's studying uni at the moment, so he'll be like on his computer. I'm like, oh, I'll just get things done. But like honestly, my weekends are so full at the moment. I'm like, no, you have to get it done during the week.
What do you mean at the moment?
What do you mean?
Your weekends are always full. I love when you're like, oh, I'll be quieter soon. And I'm like, no, you won't.
Actually, this weekend I have no plans, but then I ended up getting plans on Sunday morning. But I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get so much wedding stuff done on Saturday. Like, no one talked to me, but I'll end up like going to the markets or something.
How far away is the wedding?
7 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, it's so soon.
How exciting.
Literally, I was reading an email before from our venue being like, here's a run sheet, here's this, here's that. I'm like, oh my God, it's literally that soon.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's so funny because you've got like literally my entire family just hounding you for things at the moment. Like,
I know,
she's
off my back
with
now.
us, and then my sister's her celebrant, so she's like asking you for documents. I'm asking you for documents. You've got all of us.
But your sister's now like, oh, you won't hear from me until the wedding day.
Yeah.
So I need to pay her.
Oh, she told me to tell you.
She listens to this podcast.
Well, her due date's not until October, so we're fine. That's another thing. I'm adamant with like my bills. I'm like, get my bills paid. But so we're 7 weeks out.
My bills
like,
are paid.
They are paid. But like October is like a whole like new identity shift for me. Like I'm changing my name, we're rebranding the business.
Oh
so
my
like,
God.
I'm really excited for your rebrand.
Oh my God, me too.
Yeah,
Like, so
your
good.
colours are actually,
Slay.
I love them. They're so different.
Yeah.
And pack a punch.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you had like a little bit of a crisis
too.
with cementing your colours and then being like, can I change them? And
Yeah.
like, can I edit it? And we were like, and you decided when Ray was away, our designer, and we were like,
great.
of course you're deciding while the designer's not here. And we're like, oh, can you wait a couple of weeks? Because if I do it, it's a mess.
And it's so funny. I'm so chill. I'm like, oh, just do it when you got to do it. Like, I'm like so chill with it. Like, everyone's just like, I'm actually surprised because you're so like organized with things. I'm like, yeah, but it's going to get done.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
It's
Like,
the deliverable from the build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sorry, you don't get your colours at the end.
but like,
up to you.
yeah, I kept looking at it and like, I guess that's like another tip for everyone. And it's like, when something doesn't feel right, just speak up about it. And I've really learned that in like the last couple of months. I'm like, oh, something just doesn't feel right. And like, you know, the worst thing you can do is just say it to someone and be like, okay, like, let's change this. And then it changes and you're like, oh my God, okay, it's good.
Yeah. And also like, if you don't ask, it's a no.
Yeah.
So
This is so wild. I was actually thinking about that yesterday, and I was just thinking about what has business taught me the most as a person. And in business, when there's something wrong, you fix it immediately. Like if there's a legal issue, you call your lawyers. If you've got a staffing issue, you speak to your staff. If there is a customer issue, you're on that so quickly because you just want to fix it.
Yeah.
That flips into your life, and it's like, well, I'm like that in business. Why do I let people treat me like shit in my normal life? And like, you kind of really slowly learn that, and then I feel like it's really slow, and then the switch just flicks, and it's just crazy now. I'm like, well, you don't get to treat me like shit.
No.
bye-bye.
I feel like that's like literally like the last month. I had a friend say to me
Yeah.
the other day, she's like, I've just absolutely seen your energy shift. She's like, you're so much lighter, like, and happier. She's like, I'm so glad you've just come out of your just funk. It was a funk of a time. And like, I've come out and I'm like, no one's treating me like shit. I'm going to speak up. And like, if I want something now, I'm like, I'm just going to message about it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, see what goes on. Because Jess
love
and I
that.
did an event for the podcast. And I just reached out to people. I'm like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh my God, yeah, sure. Like, we'll help out, blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
So
all you have to do is ask.
Yeah.
I really wanted to come to that, and last weekend I was like, I'll buy the tickets. I was like, oh, it's happened already.
Oh my God. I'm actually glad because like we reached our like max capacity.
Really?
Yeah, because like
Which is very exciting, by the way.
It's very exciting because like we were like, yeah, we can probably fit like this many people in. We're like it was like 12 or something like that. And then, we hit that and then we're like, put the mats down. I'm like, oh my God, everyone would have been packed in like little sardines.
If you did anymore.
Yeah.
What was it like hosting an event?
It was really good. It felt really calm.
Was it nerve-wracking?
I was a little bit like nervous at one point when we were like doing the workout part because I'm like, I can't see shit. I can't see myself. I was like, I don't have the window, like the mirror. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then Jess came over and I was like, oh my God, thank God.
Did you think you weren't going to sell spots? Like, was there a limiting fear there?
Yeah, I definitely had a limiting belief. I'm like, why would anyone come to this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, people want to be there. They want to see us. They want to enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, but like it's like 7 a.m. on a Sunday. And I'm like, people get up earlier for worse things.
Yeah, true. Oh,
They're
yeah.
like, hanging out with Bec and Jess.
But yeah, I guess we'll bring it back into the businessy side of things as well.
Yeah.
So obviously that was a really exciting moment, which we can jump back into like your wins and everything. But I want to ask, like, have you had any big setbacks in business, and like how did you deal with them?
Oh, yeah.
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh. So that's what actually has brought me here to get like business moves with you guys. Is we had a massive setback about 12 months ago. Thought I was not like minimizing the business, but putting the business where it was at and starting something else that was going to take up a lot of my time. So that started taking up a lot of my time, and it was supposed to flourish into something else that would obviously be something I was doing all the time, being at the physical place. And then that didn't exactly work out. So then, we had to think quick, get some lawyers involved and pivot.
How
And
great are lawyers?
Pivot.
like literally pivot hard, and fuck our lawyers is like,
Lawyers are honestly,
slay.
You're so expensive, but I love you.
Yeah, literally, like money well spent.
Yeah, because they honestly just calm you down. They're like, this is everything that can happen, but it's fine. It's
Yeah.
like,
And like when they look at things, they're like, you're actually like, you're good, we'll fight
Yeah.
for this. So
That's
that
So-
definitely put a fucking,
you put all your eggs into one basket. Because I remember talking to you around probably 12 months ago now, or
Yep.
a little bit longer maybe. I think it was Jess I was speaking to.
Yeah.
yep.
And then I spoke to you. And I remember you saying, I'm kind of putting my thing onto the side. I'm going head first into this and putting all my energy into it. And then obviously it's all fallen apart, which is a good thing.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
not even a bullet dodged. It was a fucking grenade with a fucking on top of a cannon. Like,
An atomic bomb.
yeah, it was a meteorite.
You know what? You're using in not making you guys sound like yuck, but it's like you're the cockroaches in an atomic bomb that survived. Like,
Yeah, literally. Literally.
but in saying that, are you almost grateful now that
Yes.
that happened and you?
So, like, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that, because the amount of lessons that we've actually learned from all of this and all the relationships that made it out of that situation have become so much stronger. Like, I didn't think Jess and I could get closer. We got closer. Tim and I, we've worked through so much together and like been each other's rocks through it. Yeah, like my business took a massive hit from it because it was supposed to be something that aligned with my business to build from there. But also that's allowed me to go, okay, where do I actually want to be? What do I need to do? And I'm like, I want to rebrand. Like, I'm not actually that person anymore. And I feel like I've had to like rebirth. And I've had to like delete the old me and like, okay, shh. And then out comes like the new one. So like, watch this space, guys. Like, we've just gone head first into it. I'm like, and this is also a really good point, is like, you've got to reach out for help. You've got to ask other people for help because you can't do it alone.
Yeah.
You probably could, but like, it's so much easier and better with other people.
I can really feel this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I know the feels.
Were you really worried that when everything did sort of pivot and have to change, were you really worried that people were going to think that you failed?
Yep. I have a massive limiting belief. It's so weird. They like kind of like don't make sense, but I have a limiting belief in failing.
Yeah.
And like things not working out because I like push and make things work. But I also have a limiting belief for success.
Is it scared of success?
I'm scared of success because I'm scared of what people are going to think of me.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to like obviously childhood things with people being like, get a job, work for somebody else, earn money, you know, get married, have kids. No one's happy in their job. No one's happy with their relationship, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you can be.
Why can't you be?
Literally, I've had people say to me before, oh, no one enjoys their job. I'm like, I love my job.
Yeah,
like,
I love my job.
like, what are you talking like, what are you talking about?
I love my job.
Like, just staring at you.
She's going to pay you extra for that.
When it was all going down, it obviously would have been an incredibly stressful time. I feel like for you, it was kind of a situation of when it rains, it pours. And I don't know you that well personally, but obviously have a connection with Kira, and I knew a little bit what was going on because you did open up to me about it and we did have a chat about it. But during that time when you were really in that down, I don't want to call it a downfall, but when everything was like falling apart, lack for a better word, what was your thought process and what really got you out of that to keep moving?
I'll admit, I played the victim pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Like, you know, they put me in a shit position. Like, oh, I should have listened to myself and my gut instinct and like, you know, why me, why this? Like, oh my God. And then I didn't want to tell other people because I didn't want people to see that like what was happening in my internal world was actually failing. Yeah. And I was like, I honestly should have reached out a lot sooner because then it would have like pulled me out of that fucking shit. But like I played victim so hard in it, but I was just like literally like this, like I'm off this. And there was a lot of moments I sit on the floor when I'm really upset. I cannot even calculate the hours I sat on that floor and just been like, this is a mess. And then one day I just clicked and I was like, no one's coming to save you. It's done. Like the situation is done. And then we went through another situation that just like absolutely rocked it. I'm like, it's done. You have to grieve it. You have to feel. And the thing is, you have to feel to heal. And for me to ignore it and then to deny that something had gone wrong, it was only killing me. So I reached out. I went to a psych. Fucking, she's the bee's knees. Saw her and then just started processing things. And I'm like, what can you do that's going to make things better?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, sitting in your little wallow ain't going to bloody help nothing. Sitting on the floor, yeah, cool. Process it. But like, get up, go to the gym, eat healthy. Like, what's something that will like help your business? And I was like, okay, like I said to Tim, I'm like, look, I've been really, really thinking about this. And he's like, okay, how much is it? What is it? Like, what are you going to do? How is it going to benefit you? We sat down and he's like, you'll be silly if you don't do it. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yay!
Yeah, go Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, literally.
And because it was a big financial hit for you as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Massive.
So it was massive financial hit on that. So let's just say that we've recovered like 90% of it.
Yeah.
So yay to the lawyers, but it's now just like getting that final little piece of like work done that will come back. But it is what it is, and it's a lesson learned. And the thing is, like, the way we talk about it, we're like, at least we got something back from this. Yeah. People who have done other things with other people and lost like so much.
Do you think of it now and you're like, thank God I had that scare, that lesson?
Oh yeah.
Thank God it happened to me.
And thank God it didn't go further, because like now looking as like an outsider on it, because we were so zoomed in on the whole situation, but now being an outsider on, we're like, oh dear God.
Did you have feelings that you shouldn't have done it when you started it?
Yeah. Like I had like, my intuition was screaming at me from like get go. Like there was one point I remember like just crying at Tim and being like, why are you guys not like, you know, talking to me about this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, it's fine. I'm going to keep working on my business. And then we had a meeting and then they were like, no, we want you involved, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I'm fine to sit this out. And then like every time I was like there, I just felt like off and I couldn't picture the end result. Like I could picture it, but I was like, oh, it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
Like as much as I could bring it back to like the wedding situation, I'm like watching all of this, like, you know, it's kind of the same. You build it, you get people involved, you see it all come together kind of thing. Like I can see the wedding happening.
It's funny you say that. You kind of ignore the feeling, hey, and you blame it on anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm just anxious. I'm just
really stressed because, you know, everything's got to get done. No.
But when I know that you've probably listened to this, but I felt the same. And now when we go through stress, it's not like a dread. It's more like, oh, I just need to fix it. And it's crazy how much your perspective changes when you actually make that move, hey?
Yeah, and I was just like, so many moments where I was like, oh, just like, this is annoying me. Like, this isn't like happening, blah, blah, blah. Now I look back at certain things, I'm like, oh, there's like one thing that like will consistently be at said thing that's like in the ground. And I'm like, hope you think of me when when you see that. But it's just,
I'm at my spiteful phase now.
literally. But
can we add that into the step of grieving where it's like, and then you get spiteful?
Literally. And like the thing is as well, you've got to grieve it, and grief is like the bottom of like your emotions. Like that's like a low vibration. So get through it, process it, because if you don't process your grief, you're going to sit there for like a very long time. Yeah. And like, this is going real deep. We were literally going through that situation, and then my mum passed away at the same time. So I was like, double grief. And I was like, whoop.
It was, that is just rough.
Yeah, literally my mum passed away at 7 p.m. on a Monday. We were in the lawyers at 9 a.m. the next morning.
Oh my God.
So I was like, when it rains, it pours, guys.
It was a fucking hurricane.
That's not pouring, it's a tornado.
Honestly, we were like excited to see 2024 for you, and I feel like it's definitely been the year of flourishing amongst.
Was this all last year?
So this was end of last year, December.
Wow, it feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
Honestly, this whole year is like
literally. So it started like July last year through to like September, October. December was
Oh my
like
God.
rough.
We went through the juju together. Something was
We
up.
did.
Something was up.
Yeah, we went through
Yeah.
juju together.
2024.
My juju wasn't that bad, but juju.
there was something going on, and I truly believe, like I always used to say to like the universe, I'm like, I'd rather 12 months of shit than 12 years of shit. Like don't sprinkle it to me, like fuck, just win it.
And I'm not saying this in the context of your mum passing, because that's obviously horrible, but I feel like it really gives it to you so you can move to the next chapter, and like it really tests you.
Yeah.
We're going through a bit of a phase at the moment where I'm constantly being tested. I'm like,
There's a reason
there's
behind
a reason
it.
why,
Yeah.
there's a reason why, there's a reason why.
The universe is like, all right, what are you going to do with this?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
How are you going to overcome it?
And
And then
it's-
I'll let you have whatever you want.
and then when you get through it, you're like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, I could have handled this better. I could have handled that better. Or, you know, if I was to do it again, I would learn from this kind of thing. But you don't know in that moment, and you've kind of got your blinkers on. You're just like,
Did you struggle with, were there any comments made to you with people around you around like, I told you so, or was it more so you just felt like you were being judged?
some people, not really. Everyone was kind of like understanding, but like my dad was just like,
Really?
my dad kind of like warned us at one point, and then was just like, yeah, I kind of like told you so, because my dad went through a situation when he was younger. He was like, I think splitting property or a business or something like that. And this guy just like took him and like ran.
So many
And
stories like that, hey?
And I was like, at least we had like lawyers and stuff involved and like
Yeah.
actual contracts, so like saved the day. But yeah, it was very, very dad of him.
Yeah. Like, I know, Dad, I just needed to go through it.
I get to do it myself.
Yeah, so but it is what it is.
But now you're on a better trajectory.
I know. It's called thriving.
Better. And yeah, it's very excited with your business, because we're doing something very different with your business than what we normally do. And I don't want to give it away on the podcast.
Like, are we?
Yeah.
Both of us.
It's the offer that we came up with.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
It's actually a really cool and unique offer, and I'm very
Yeah.
excited for you.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, I remember when I was reading it out, I was like, oh, I've got an offer. I hope she likes it.
Yeah, I feel like it's very fitting for me and where I'm at and where I'm going with the business. So it will all align very well. And even talking to Star the other day and like what she was coming out with social media, I was like, oh, this is genius. Like this is so genius with what we're going to do to like when the launch comes out, because it'll suit that offer as well.
Yeah.
So,
That's so
Do you think you needed it? I think, you know, you sign up and you're like, I actually really needed this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was so old school. Like I was not automating anything. I didn't even know how to automate things. Like even with like the email marketing, I'm like, oh, if I took like half an hour, I'd probably understand it. But I'm like, why? I'll just get somebody else to do it for me.
You're moving training apps too, aren't you?
Oh, I'm still on the fence.
Just do it.
Just do it.
I actually gave Bec a promise that I said, let's set it up and trial it. If you really hate it, we can go back, but trial it out.
There's just a couple of things with Everfit that Trainerize does that I'm like, oh, like the whole calendar view. Like I love seeing something in a client's calendars. Like there's their tasks, their check-ins, there's their programs, and even the programming on Trainerize is so much easier because it's like a block. And then like with Everfit, it's like you have to try and put it in like the calendar kind of thing. So I'm like, you're triggering me, but like you're so good in so many other aspects. But if they just like got together, had a baby, it'll be like,
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. Well, there's lots of apps coming. That's all
I
I'm
know,
saying.
but it's like, they're not here
coming.
now.
because I'm like, oh, do I jump ship or like just keep everything on Trainerize the way it is, or it's just like if I move to Everfit, I'm like, oh, I fucking hate this thing.
I think there's going to be so many coming up in the next couple of years that everyone's going to be jumping around. It's going to be shiny object syndrome for a pretty long time.
It literally will be.
Yeah.
So that's actually on my like list of things to do is like make sure I know which one, because I don't want you guys to start building out Everfit. Yeah, sneaky little hint.
It's actually, we have a lot. It's funny, a lot of our clients from October last year, when Kahunas was the new shiny object, they jumped onto it, and now they're emailing us being like, can you move us onto Everfit? And it's like, okay.
Okay.
Like we're more than happy to, but
Yeah.
it's definitely be really, really careful of shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Really, really careful.
For
of it.
sure.
Because it's such a mission to move it and then move again.
That's the thing. Coaching businesses are SaaSes. So they're
Yeah.
softwares as a service. Your whole business is in that app
Yep.
Yeah.
at the end of
And
the
I'm like,
day.
years and years of data from clients as well. I'm like, oh, I don't want to lose all that.
Yeah, absolutely not.
No.
Rough. But with your clientele, like going through your rebrand, when we're doing like the psychographic demographics, we're really attracting a new clientele for you. I'll just never get over, just a little on the side, when I read your feedback forms, I was just dying laughing from that one line of feedback.
Oh, that one client.
What did they say?
Well, in the Business Moves program, we get our customers to do some customer feedback, and Bec had sent out an ex-customer form.
Yeah, it was like, I put it on like Instagram story.
Yeah.
And
we
this
got a
one
feedback.
customer filled it in. And you know when you can just do nothing to please
Ah.
one customer, and like you should always take feedback. You should always take negative comments and turn them into something positive. But I could tell by just reading it that this customer was negative, and I was laughing so much, and I think I just removed it. I was like, I think you no.
I guess like don't repeat it just because like anyway, but I have to.
But this when you're getting feedback, there's always going to be someone that you just can't make happy, and just remove it for your own mental health.
It was honestly very much that client too.
Yeah,
like
it was very like attacky. Like I just want to attack you for who you are.
Yeah,
not I'm going to give you constructive criticism to improve your business.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's so hard.
But anyways, we're going through like demographics and psychographics, and they've kind of really built a new client for you. And I know that we mentioned at the start that you did competing with Kira. Are you going to be taking on Comprep clients, or is that a past life for you now?
I still have a few Comprep clients.
Yeah.
I just don't really advertise it because like I love competing. Like if I could jump up and compete and still have my life at the same time, I would do it over and over again. I love it. But I don't feel it's fully aligned with me. Like it's not always the path I want to take. Like I love watching people achieve their goals, but I also love people just absolutely changing their lifestyles to just be better and not feel like it's always something physical or a physique goal that they need to have. Or even people realizing that competing isn't the end goal. Like you don't get fit, get healthy, get lean and go, okay, what's the next thing?
Get on stage.
Yeah, you got to get on stage. It's not for everyone. And like, it's an absolute mental journey.
Has your business been affected by you competing? So was it busier when you were competing? Did you find you attracted a lot of clients?
Yes and no. Like I found that doing the photo shoot with clients actually attracted more clients in turn than what me doing competing actually did as well. I think I was like a little bit quiet with like my whole like Comprep journey. I was like, yeah, here's a check-in. Oh, I haven't checked you in for like 3 weeks. Here's another photo of me. Because I know that like in my mind, I'm like, me being that lean 6 weeks out to 4 weeks out is not at all ideal. Like you lose your period, like your sleep gets affected, like you're not eating enough to be sustaining your hormones. And that's not something I want to be advertising. It's like, okay, let's get you lean, but also let's jump out of that.
I was going to ask you about that. And did you find that it was really hard? I'm trying to say this in a way, I just don't know how to say it. And it's like, I know that you're all about health with your customers. Did you find that it just went against everything that you were teaching them and just felt a little bit weird?
Like a bit contradictory.
Yeah.
Contradictive.
It did a little bit, but I also can vouch that like my calories didn't get like Comprep low, and it wasn't until like the last couple of weeks where I was doing like a ridiculous amount of cardio, and like that's when I was like, look, this is not it. But like IFBB is a whole new standard. Like you know that you're gonna have to dig deep for that. But also like the fact that like I lost my period, I was like, that's not healthy. And for people to be like, oh my God, this is goals, and I'm like, yeah, but you're not realizing that I'm like fixated on food now, and like it affects your hair, your skin, your nails. Like, yeah, I looked fucking boss, but also it's just like all of these other things that like flow into it. And I did. I feel like I was a bit of a walking contradiction because it's like, why are you doing it? But then you're telling people not to do it. But it's just like, I was competing like every 2 years. So I was like making sure I was having that rebound. But after the last time, I was like, I came and did what I wanted. And the only time I'd be getting back up on stage is because I really love doing it. But I'm also like, that's an absolute journey and slog to put your body through that again. And like I'm at the age now where I'm like, I really got to consider if I want kids or not, because if you do that again, like I'm in my 30s, so it's just like I'm really chewing at my time here.
Chewing up your time and putting extra stress on your reproductive system if you're also thinking about having kids and stuff. Like, do you want your reproductive system to shut down again?
Literally.
Like, and not everybody, that doesn't happen to everybody either.
No, it doesn't.
Some people definitely keep theirs. I'm not saying if you compete, you will lose your period, but it's a consideration to take. So I think that would be
the rebound coming out of it as well. Like, you get so fixated on food as well.
Really?
Like, you're just like, oh, I should go here and try that. Or like, you just start eating things that like you don't really want to. And then like you put on 2 kilos. You're like, oh my God, I put on 2 kilos. And it's just like, I'm trying to teach my clients that it's normal to put on 2 kilos and it's normal to have a period, but you shouldn't not have a period for like 2 months. Yeah. So it was just like coming back into that. But it's that whole like, you've been dieting for so long. So.
Do you think that there's also a really big fixation on people sharing how much weight they've gained post-show and that it's a win to be lower post-show?
Yeah.
Is that something you've noticed happening?
Oh, I've noticed that's a big thing, and like this is going to be an absolute arsehole statement, but come at me. I really don't care anymore. Like, people sharing how much weight they do put on post-show. They're like, I've put on 25 kilos. I'm like, No,
yeah,
that's also very unhealthy.
Like, I feel like either way, it's sharing something
that's unhealthy.
Yeah,
like when people are like, "Oh, I'm 6 months post show and I've only put on 500 grams." You're like, "What?"
Yeah,
nah, I've never heard that one.
No, but I guess you want to be dramatic, so you're not.
Yeah, I'm being dramatic, guys. But like, I've seen people be like, "Yeah, I've put on 25 kilos," and I'm like, "Well, that's not all muscle," and like that's really unhealthy to be telling people that, like, you go from you're underweight and you should be putting on weight. Like, I think I'm 7-8 kilos up from my stage weight. Yeah, I'm 7.5 kilos up from my stage weight, which is fine.
Yeah. But I'm also like, I feel like that also means nothing. So I'm like, why are we sharing this?
Yeah.
Why is it like a stigma that like you need to keep the number post show as low as possible? And then there's people being like, no, I've put on heaps. And it's like, why are we even talking about
what's a great example is Jess and I. People think like we're exactly the same. She weighs normally 10 kilos heavier than me when we were like competing and stuff like that. Like there was one point she was literally to like the gram 10 kilos heavier and everyone's like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, 'cause she got a lot of muscle. That girl is solid. Like Jess is like, but you wouldn't think so. She's like,
that's
athletic.
why
She's athletic as fuck.
Yeah, but I'm like, I think that's why it annoys me that numbers are being shared, because I'm like, doesn't mean anything. Like this is such a dumb thing to be talking about.
Yeah, I can kind of see it from because I've never competed.
Yeah.
And I see it from a bystander point of view. I find it really interesting when it comes to business because I get really into, what attracts the client. And it's very different. Like sometimes competing is great for someone's business and sometimes it's not, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I find it really interesting as a client. And I think, if you're competing and you're taking on newbies in Gen Pop, that could probably be a little bit damaging. Because I know when I was first introduced to the world, I was like, oh, like everyone was posting numbers and their weight. And there was like this, I was watching girls that were posting it, I don't want to say obsessively, but daily on their stories. And I was like, oh, that's the way I need to be.
Yeah.
And then like a couple years later, I obviously understand that's not what you need to be. But if I saw it, it doesn't bother me. So I think it really will impact your business depending on how far along your ideal customer is in their journey.
Yeah. 100%.
And I think now if I saw it, I'd be like, that's really inspiring. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, I love that they're on that journey. But if your client is in their first year, it probably could impact them if they don't understand what the sport is. Like,
And it gives people like Gen Pop as well when they see someone who's like, oh, I've only put on like, 2 kilos from like my comp prep cut kind of thing. And if they're coming out of their first deficit and they've put on 3 kilos, they're going to automatically think they've failed. Yeah. But then you get on the other token where they're coming out of their deficit and then they're putting on weight and they're like, oh, I've only put on like, 10 kilos and that person put on 30. So I've still got a leeway of like 20 kilos to put on. And it's everyone's bodies are completely different, but it's just like how they take that information as well.
Yeah. And there's no right way. Everyone takes things online differently.
Like I could say something to you or text you something and you read it in a completely different tone to what I've actually meant as well. So
I've
started doing that lately. It's like I think my sister must have got a message and it was like, okay, no worries. And she was like, oh, she's mad at me. She said,
literally.
okay, no worries. And I said, no, she might have said, okay, no worries.
Yeah,
and she was like, oh yeah. And so I've started reading messages that I get that I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, let's read it in a different tone and see how that feels.
Why do you think I always want to jump on a call?
Yeah.
So it's literally in my car. I was like talking to Siri to send a message, and like the way she reads it back is just like, hi. It's like, and I'm like, but me in the car, hey, just letting you know on my way home. Hi, just letting you know on my way home. Like,
Yeah, I'm on my way home. Like, and you're like, no, can you add in a couple of extra Y's here? And
If I don't get a smiley face, I'm out. You're mad at me. You hate me.
say to Siri to send a smiley face, and it sends that like not okay one. It's like,
yeah. Oh, Siri.
So back to it.
yeah.
With your business now, like, do you feel like you're aligning more clients now that
Yeah.
you've stepped into a different phase of life?
I feel like it, and I feel like you have to go through that shift to that maybe there's going to be clients that don't align with the new you, and they will possibly like, you know, sign off or still say then they will go on the journey with you. But now I do feel like as you shift that business, you get new people attracted that are going to be looking like inwards at what you're doing. And like, that's just like any coach. Like, I wouldn't want someone coming to me if they wanted to do like powerlifting. That's not it for me. But people wanting what you're offering will start aligning with that. And that's why I'm like, I have to go through this shift because I'm wanting different clients now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really interested, and you don't need to answer, but going through this shift, have you lost people in your life as well, like friends? And yeah? Has that been really difficult?
It's been pretty tough.
Yeah.
And a lot of it probably to do with me, but it's been tough. But also on the other token, you start attracting people and you start seeing the people who are really aligned with you. Like even the friends that you already have, you're like, whoa, like I have my blinkers on, and like these people are actually such genuine people. You can be going through like the biggest shifts and they'll still be there for you. But it is life, and like you'll gain people, you'll lose people, and sometimes you'll lose people and then they'll just come back and match you in a completely different journey. So it's not always like I hate that person kind of thing when you lose them. It's just like, this is a different phase now.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've started to realize as well is like people will come into your life. I think Tish said it to me actually, and it was like for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yeah, I love that.
And I love that because like something negative might have happened with a person and you can be like, why did they do that, or blah blah blah, but like if they've taught you something, they were there for a reason. So they've taught you something, or they might be there for a season, a couple of months, or a year. And like people can get really upset to be like, oh, why aren't they in my life anymore? Or I don't get to see them anymore. But it's like people will come and go. They might come back. But it's always good to look at it like people won't be in your life forever. And they've got their own stuff happening, of things happening to them. And so I think it can be really, even though it can be a sad thing to lose some people in your life, it's good to look at it as they were a part of your life, but they're not a part of your whole life.
And you'll also miss the people that are actually there in your life when you're mourning someone over here as well. Like, that friendship can break off or whatever, but then you're like taking away from the people who are right in front of you, supporting you and cheering you on the whole time.
Yeah.
Like going through that whole situation and like my mom and like everything else that was happening in life, I'm like, oh, wow, like there's people who actually just genuinely see something is wrong with you and they check up. They just send a message like, hey, like I'm just checking up on you. Like, she's like, I saw something. And she's like, I know it's not, it's very odd for you. Like, are you okay? And then like just other people in the background as well. Like I actually read this thing and it's just like, you shouldn't actually be friends with like the people you went to primary and high school with. Like I have one
Really?
They're like, I have one best friend that like I went to high school with and like we talk almost every day. But like you wouldn't know, like on my social, you wouldn't even know that like, but they say that you shouldn't actually have the same friend group throughout life because everyone will be on a different journey. And if you're all still friends, like it's not actually, it's just because you're friends because you went to school together. But like everyone should actually level up and be on different journeys. And it's just like, where does that friendship keep going kind of thing?
That's a really interesting point of view because that's personally something I really struggle with because I'm the only, I feel, and I don't know, but I feel I'm the only one from my high school friend group that's not friends with anyone. Like I've always been like that go-getter and like I always, I moved to another town, and then I left that town, so then I had no friends again, and then I moved to another town, and I had no friends in that town, and then I moved to Newcastle, and I had a group of friends, and then I started a business, and then, you know, I still love them dearly, but our values just didn't align anymore, and I feel like I constantly talk about it, and I've got very limited people in my life, and actually really funny, I'm like, when I get married, it will be my bridesmaid. I don't have any friends. And then you hear a lot of noise online of like, well, if that person doesn't have friends, then there's something wrong with them. Like they're like the common denominator.
I actually think it's the opposite.
And I actually have to remind myself of that. I do have long-term friends. Like I do have a handful of them, but it's very hard as a business owner because I feel like you get in your head and you're like, am I the problem? Like, is there something wrong with me?
When you start to level up as well, you start to see where your time and energy is like worth spending.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you go like, and it's absolutely nothing wrong if you are that person who does this, that stays like in their hometown and has kids and does whatever, but like that doesn't align with me. Like I'm not in my hometown anymore. I don't have any kids. Like what you guys talk about has nothing to do with me. Like I have my people and I enjoy what I do. Like going to the gym, like you're not going to be hanging around people who don't go to the gym and just drink every weekend. Like
you start what are you going to talk about?
Yeah, literally. You just start to find it, and I do find that like sometimes you're just on completely different pathways and like I don't know. I'm a chatterbox. I can yap, but also if like I can talk to someone and be like, this conversation's not going anywhere. Like I'm done.
I think also when you might be upset about losing somebody in your life and you're thinking, oh, like I miss that person. I wish they were still in my life. Are you missing that person and you want them to be in your life, or are you wanting who they were in your life again, but they're not that person anymore and you're not that person anymore. So it's like, are you actually missing them now, or are you missing how they were? Like if they've changed or you changed. Like
I actually heard that like with like ex-boyfriends and girlfriends and stuff, that is like, are you missing the person or are you missing just being in that relationship? Like being in a relationship with somebody. And I was like, oh, that's actually really good to ask people.
Yeah. I think that's also, I think I've heard something similar where it's like in a long-term relationship and you're at the end and you're like, oh, but we used to be so good. And so you're staying in that relationship because like, but we could get back to that, or like, well, I'm here because like it used to be like this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, they're not that person anymore. So it's never, ever going to be the same as what you're picturing.
And I truly believe that like we will go through so many different seasons within ourselves. Like I'm not the person I was a year ago, let alone 2 years ago, let alone 5 years ago. And like it is the whole, hey, I'm going to have to reintroduce myself. And I truly feel like these last 12 months have just absolutely changed me. Yeah, I went through like an absolute dip and like probably not the nicest person, and I've come out of it. I'm like, well, won't do that again. So
and I think that's one of the challenges you have as a business owner is the scrutiny against what you're going through to try and figure out who you are. It's like,
you know what one of my favorite quotes is, we're all living life for the first time. We're all here for the first time. Give each other grace.
A rock, for Christ's sake.
That's like when things
in the
happen.
universe where we don't even know where we come from.
Like at the same time
we're just floating around.
People have problems and I'm like, okay, but like, is it really that big?
Yeah, is it really like Tim always says to me, he's like, you need to zoom out from the problem and you need to see it from like a wider lens. And then like I zoom out and I'm like, oh, it's really not that big.
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
like that's normally how I try and help people if they're like really stressed or anxious or anything like that. Is I'm like, zoom out, put on your wide scope lens, and let's think about this, because like you're building this up and up and up. When really like, okay, what's the worst that's gonna happen?
Yeah,
come on,
what's gonna happen?
It's already happened.
Clearly I'm very empathetic.
Yeah, if you want logic, go to Kira.
I'm
empathy,
logic.
Don't.
No, I'm like, pat.
There.
It'll be okay. Please don't cry.
I keep having like a reoccurring problem, and Kira's like, it's fine. No, it's not. It's not okay.
And I'm like, it is fine. Get over it. No, I'm
just fine.
It's not okay.
I don't tell her to get over it, by the way. I'm really caring.
No, it's just the eyes for me. It's like same problem again. We're back to where we were. But I think that is, although we're talking about personal things, it's so transferable to business
Oh,
because
100%.
coaches are personal brands and whatever you go through is transferable to your business.
Yeah.
And that's really important to note.
Yeah.
Like the most important thing. With showing up online, when it comes to an online coach, did you go through struggles of learning how to show up as a coach?
But I was going to say, I let my personal life interfere with my business because I
Yeah.
had to stop showing up. Like there was weeks where I wouldn't post on the business page. There was like, I was like, oh, I will like write it down and be like, oh, I need to talk about this. And then I'm like, I'm not in the mood to show up. But like the main thing was I wasn't showing up because I didn't want people to know I was struggling. And then I didn't want people to see through it. And I'm very private in that aspect where I'm like, if you're going through a problem, you don't need to be telling the world about it. Like I want to get through it, then tell the world about it and be like, okay, so I did this and this. And like, and everyone's like, what the hell? I didn't realize you were like, But like, you got to also like, that's probably a lesson that I can learn is not to let personal interfere with business. Business still goes on. Like I need to think about people who have jobs. Like you can't just take, 4 weeks of annual leave because you're having a boo-boo. Like grow up, sis. Like me to me, like I'm giving myself that advice right now. And it's just like, I needed to show up and the only person I had to answer to was myself and I could have shown up and I didn't. So lesson learned. But
I think though that is something that you do very well is you are like you have quite a big social media presence and you are online quite a bit, and not to say like influencer, but like in a way, yes. But you live out loud like on your social media, but you're also very private. So I feel like people think that they see a lot of you, but they actually don't. And I think that's something to keep in mind as well when you are showing up as a coach is you don't need to tell everyone everything that you're doing.
Yeah, and that's another thing as well, like just keep some things private. Like but like I'm totally for people like sharing everything, but like sometimes you actually just need to go through it because then you'll get like people come back to you and be like, oh, have you tried doing this? Have you done that? Have you done that? Like I had people reaching out when my mum passed being like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This happened to me, and like telling me a story. I'm like, that's not really helping.
I
like,
think
thank you, but
I saw this quote once and I live by it because I'm private too. It's when you struggle.
I know everything about you. What are you talking about?
It's like but everything I've spoken about has happened in the past. So like I'm talking about it from the lesson that I've learnt. But like I struggle in silence, and that's not to say that I struggle in silence. Like I do not shut up when it comes to Kira. I'm like,
but you share it with your people.
we hide our problems. Like if you looked at Forward Moves, you'd be like, oh,
Just killing it.
everything's together. But like behind the scenes, it's like we struggle in silence because there's so much beauty in when you've reached that lesson. We can actually get on and talk about it, and we can be like, well, we went through this and this is what we did. And
you wouldn't even know.
sometimes when you don't share it, it doesn't make it real, and like it makes it easier to get over.
Yeah,
I think we're all quite similar in that way, that we're all like, nope, I've got this problem, I'm going to deal with it, I'm going to get out the other side, and then I'll be like, oh, craziest thing happened. And you're like, but I got through it. And people are like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me?
It's easy to compress the story as well. Like you don't have to give them an update.
And it's funny because when you first got here and I was like, what's your favourite episode? And you mentioned the shutdown episode. It's like everyone loved that episode.
It's
but
so real.
when I speak to them, they're like, I wouldn't have any idea.
Literally no idea.
Any idea that you guys went through that. And it's like,
so I guess like
All
now
on the floor crying.
So I guess now bringing it back to like advice that you can give on like showing up online for your personal brand, like is it, and I guess you were saying like it was hard because like you didn't feel like showing up and people were going to see through it, and then you weren't showing up at all, so it was having like that limiting belief or like contradictory belief. Did you find that it impacted your business when you weren't showing up? Like did you notice an impact?
I noticed a shift when I wasn't showing up. People were just like obviously not inquiring and stuff, but like the thing is you can show up and no one know what's going on behind the scenes, and you also don't have to show up with your face. Like you can show up with like templates, or you can show up with faceless reels, like you can show up with recipes and stuff. And I also would say as well, if you love showing up, keep doing it, because like I love showing up and I love having like conversations with strangers online and sharing recipes and stuff, and I stopped doing it. And then like I was like, why am I not doing what I love? And then then you get back into it and you're like why? Like
do you find there's a stigma about like what you should be posting?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you find that impacts what you do post?
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, if they're posting this, I should be posting something similar. Like, oh, is that the way that, like, you know, trends are going? And I'm like, oh, I shouldn't do that because, like, it's going to trigger people into things. And now I'm like, if it triggers you, that's actually your trigger, not mine.
Have you ever shared
you
too much
know.
online that you're like, oh, this is like something I wouldn't do?
Say that again, sorry.
Like, have you ever shared too much online about your business and then gone, oh, I wish I didn't do that when you look back on it?
Probably not. I feel like I've always been like known what I was like sharing. I feel like there's been posts where I'm like, oh, probably shouldn't have done that. But yeah, I feel like I'm pretty good. Like, I like to keep things pretty transparent as well. Like, my clients know that, like, I go out for a meal and, like, I don't mind a cocktail or, you know, red wine here and there. I want people to be like, that coach is actually, like, real behind the scenes. And, like, I know, like, some people like to keep that really private, but I really feel like it's almost like a lie. It's just like...
Yeah. Do you think that if you're not showing any of that stuff, then it would almost put people off to be like, oh, if I went with that coach, they would expect me to be 100% on the time all the time?
Yeah, I think so as well, because it'll be like, okay, well, she meal preps and, like, she's in bed by 8 p.m. on a Saturday. Like, in saying that, like, most of the time I'm in bed by, like, 9:30 on a Saturday. But, like, also you can go out and have a meal out and can be completely fine with it. You don't have to finish it. Like, this morning I actually had a bacon and egg roll out with Jess this morning. She didn't want half of it, so I took the other half home to Tim. And I'm like, it's completely normal to do these things. And, like, it's also showing, like, oh, I never have meals out, like, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like, your client is a human too. And you're allowed to do that. Like, it's just not an every time thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've been chatting for over an hour.
I know, it's flows so well.
quickly.
Time flies when you're having fun.
So we do have a question we want to ask you.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
So if you were to tell younger Bec something, what would you tell her? What
Younger
advice?
coach Bec?
Yeah,
Or
as
younger
a
Bec?
coach.
As a coach.
Or both, I think. Like, you can answer it both ways if you want to.
I feel like I'm like recycling my own advice because I said this at our event, but it's don't hesitate. Like, I have hesitated so much with so many things in my life, and if I didn't like hesitate on those, I think I would be not like further ahead, but I would be a lot closer to where I would want to be. I hesitated so long in doing my Cert 3 and 4 to get out of like a corporate job. I hesitated a little bit in asking for help, like even like way back in the day. I was like literally to my like books, like booked out, like I was PT, like, and then I was doing everything, and then like I reached out to you. I'm like, I should have not hesitated on that and done it months ago. And just different little things, like even certain courses that I've done. I'm like, oh, I'll think about it. I'm like, if you just don't hesitate on it and do it, because it doesn't matter if you do it now, that 6 months is going to go by anyway. So just do the thing. And it's not always like, oh, quit your full-time job and go study so you can be an online coach. I mean, like, if you want to go ask your boss for a promotion, don't hesitate on that. Just ask. Kira. And like, even just like asking people for like, you know, our event was like a really good example. Like, I just reached out to a few people. I'm like, hey, like, we've got an event on, blah, blah, blah. Like, just don't hesitate on it. Just do it. Like, if you want to ask someone on a date, don't hesitate. Just do it. Like,
That.
So that was probably like my advice, is just do the thing and see where it lands you, because like the worst thing that's going to happen, you might learn a lesson from it, or you're going to succeed really hard.
I like that as well, because people are always like, oh, I can't start that course because then I'll be like 34 by the time it's finishing, and so it's too late for me to start it, and then that's too old, and then blah blah. It's like, okay, well, that time's going to go by no matter what, so do it now, and you're 34 when it finishes, or you put it off another year and then you're 35 when it finishes,
and then you regret not doing it.
And
that was actually something my dad said to me when I was booking my like one-way ticket overseas. He's like, you'll only regret the things that you don't do in life. Amen.
Absolutely, I agree with that. That's a good one.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been lovely.
Having me. It's been good.
It's been so much fun.
And I can't wait for you to launch.
And also, where can people find you? Because I know that you do have your own podcast as well. So give yourself a little shout out and where people can follow you.
You guys can find me personally at Bec Johnson 2_. And then the business is the Bec Project. And then we have our own podcast with my sister, which is Sisters Not Twins.
Yeah.
Yay.
Amazing.
I didn't realize you guys are sisters. I think I've told you this before.
What?
Yeah.
I think you said that to me like literally years ago.
Because I worked with Jess and then I worked with Bec. It didn't click. Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, so many people have done
and
that.
then all of a sudden I saw sisters and not twins and I was like,
Hang on.
aren't they friends?
What?
And it just didn't. No, I don't know why it didn't click. And I was like, what is
so
going on?
funny.
Yeah, you'll get people who are like, oh my God, are you guys twins? Or like, how far apart are you? And they're like, we can tell that you're sisters. And then like you get people like, oh my God, I didn't even realize.
That's crazy.
I'm just off my own little planet. Sorry.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Well, thank you
that.
so much. And I hope that
thanks.
everyone enjoyed today's episode.
Yeah, we'll talk to you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.